Are you lost in the chaotic whirlwind of day-to-day busyness? Do you yearn for a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in your life? Welcome to Be You, Your Story, Your Purpose, the podcast dedicated to empowering women on their journey of self-discovery and finding their true purpose through their own story. I'm your host, Brenda Simmons. Welcome to the Be You, Your Story, Your Purpose podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have this guest on. Her name is Teresa Carnegie, and she is a writer, a published author, and a self-publishing coach. Teresa helps people to create, self-publish, and organically market their own books. When she's not doing all that, she's traveling around the world as often as possible and locally around the Vancouver area where she lives. You can usually find her enjoying sweets, carrying her laptop, and searching for new experiences. Thank you so much for being here, Teresa. I'm so glad to have you. I would go ahead.
Thank you for having me, Brenda. I appreciate it.
I didn't want to cut you off because I was like, oh. So I'd like to start off today with some rapid fire questions. This is something that I've done new. I've done this at the end of my podcast before, but I wanted to try it out at the beginning just so that my audience can get to know you a little bit better. These are meant to be, lighthearted and super fun. So the first question that I have for you is, what makes you laugh?
Everything.
You are my kind of girl.
There's not a lot that I won't laugh at. I will say, though, that my favorite thing right now is my 4.5-year-old niece. She is coming into her own personality, and she's got some real good things she does and says, and I'm enjoying it.
Well, and I love the innocence of young children because it's just pure and hilarious. Just freaking hilarious.
It is. It just comes out, and you're just like, that wasn't right, but you just have to laugh because it was really funny.
Right, exactly.
Sarcasm. I'm like, that's impressive at that age.
Right. So tell us something that is on your bucket list and why.
I have like a massive bucket list. I'm constantly adding places to go and experiences to it, but I will give you probably the most random thing. I want to learn how to hotwire a car.
Wow. And for what reason?
I'm one of those people that feels like you need a lot of information because just in case. So like, what if you're being chased by bad people and you need to hotwire a car?
Right.
You need to know. So
yeah, it would be a good thing to know. Or you're stranded somewhere, right?
Exactly. You're in the middle of a natural disaster and you've got to get out, but you don't have a key to this car that's sitting right there. Yeah, so you need to hotwire it.
I love that. And that is absolutely random. So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, last question. What is your favorite silly quote?
Inconceivable. I mean, there's probably more, and I always butcher these things, but I think it's from, Princess Bride, so we go all OG here, but he says inconceivable, and I'm loving the one when he goes back with it. I don't think you know how to use that word.
Yes.
I think it's something like that. Yeah, so I love that one. Yeah.
I love that. That's a fantastic movie too. I love it. All right. Yes, like it can never be old, right?
No.
So, okay, so let's get into what you have to share with us today. When we were talking before, you had shared that you had several car accidents that really had a pivotal impact in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that and like what were you doing before that and why did it cause you to pivot?
Yeah, my life has changed completely. So I was working 40 plus hours a week. I was going to night school for 2 classes a semester. I was go, 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 accomplish kind of, attitude, slightly workaholic-ish, I guess you could say. And my dad passed away. And then a week later, I was sitting at a red light and a 90-year-old person just drove right into me. And then it rebounded and drove into me again. And thankfully, our car stuck together at that point. But that one gave me probably my worst concussion I've ever had because it was the double hit. And Well, I'm assuming that's why, but anyway, and I got other injuries, and it took me months to get over that one. I was off work in total for like 4 months, and it was a struggle even then. But you keep pushing yourself and pushing. Got to get back to full time. Got to get back to going to school. Got to get back to the way life was, and it was silly things that kept happening because I had migraines with that. I didn't just have regular headaches. I had migraines. So, when I was pushing myself to work more and go, and so you add the commute and you have all these things. And I remember coming home one night and my head was in so much pain. And I opened up the fridge door and I watched a 500 milliliter water bottle fall out of the fridge, just tumble out. I didn't really even know what was happening. I just watched it because I didn't have I was in a lot of pain, didn't have a lot going on in my brain at that point other than pain. And it landed on my foot in such a way it broke my foot. And, so these little things that just kept happening because I kept pushing myself. And so I ended up having 3 car accidents within 14 months and none of them my fault. So by the end of that third one, I got panic attacks and I started believing everybody was out to kill me. It's not and the thing is, it's not consciously. Consciously, I knew I was fine. It was the subconsciously, so thankfully I was in my doctor's office and it was busy that day and it usually wasn't. And it set me off into a panic attack because I didn't know I was having those. I didn't know what they were. And my doctor was able to tell me what it was. And so it just, and then there was other stuff that went on, a new person that had started just before I was off work and did not appreciate me coming back to work and, wanted to take my place, which is why, didn't really like when I came back and just different things that kept happening. And, when you're in that place, you need compassion and you need, empathy. And I was really getting quite not there. I was not getting there. And it really didn't help me. And I lost, a lifelong friend a couple months after the third accident. And it was right around that time that I went and saw a pain specialist because I wasn't getting better. And they wanted to make sure it wasn't just, me not being able to handle pain or something, right? I don't know what their theory was, but, and he said that my high pain tolerance and my just keep going attitude was hindering me from healing. And that really hit. And I was just like, huh. And then work got to a point where within a month after I think I it was a couple of days before I went on vacation and I said, you know what? I quit. I'm done. I'm not coming back. And that was a 13 and a half year job. So it was just, it's got to be at that point when you're like, something's got to change. And I was having a really hard time dealing with that aspect of life. And I knew I needed to concentrate on me. And a month after I left that job, my naturopath messaged me and said, "Oh, I can't make our appointment tomorrow. I'm not well." And within 2 weeks, he passed away from cancer. And then, yeah, and then 2 months after that, I had just seen my doctor like 2 or 3 weeks before, and something came up and I had to make an appointment, and I phoned, and her phone had been disconnected because she surprisingly closed her practice because she got cancer too. So it was, it was 18 months of like all these things that kept happening to me and my body, and then the people that were there to help me, it felt like
gone.
they were
like
going.
your whole support system was gone.
Exactly. I had my physiotherapist, thankfully. I still have my physiotherapist. She's amazing. But because of that, like I just started going in this downward spiral and I couldn't get myself out of it. It was a real struggle. And I took up writing shortly after I left the job. And like within a couple months kind of thing. And I was, I think I got subscription boxes and I would write about them and put them up on a website talking about, my, I guess, reviewing. And then I started thinking like, oh, I think something came up and it was local and it was at like some bakery. And I was like, I can go to that because I'm not working right now. Because that was another factor is that, when I was off for that 4 months, I couldn't handle anything. So I went from 40 plus hours and 2 night classes to sitting in the quiet and the dark and by myself. And it was jarring to say the least. And, you start losing your identity, because my identity was going to work, going to school, trying, I was in the plumbing industry. I was in sales, selling the stuff behind the wall, and I was going to school to learn how to design the systems. So it was not like, it was a lot of brain stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, who am I if my brain isn't working? Oh my gosh, what do I do? So, and then all that stuff. And it just kind of kept going to the point where then I lost my support system, or I left my job and I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a job. And my doctor was like, it's okay. You've got to heal mentally, emotionally, physically. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself that time. And then, like I said, the support system gone. And then I was like, brr. So, because that, like that thing with the bakery, I went out and then I wrote about it on my website, and I thought I could do that. So that helped me get out of bed and leave the house,
Gave you a
and
purpose.
it did. And then I was talking to my mom one day on the phone, and an email came in, and it was a sale for a flight to Australia. And I was like, huh, I got nothing going on right now. So I booked a 3-month trip to Australia and New Zealand, which, to be fair, I have a lot of friends over there because I had done traveling and I met them through the years. And so I think in that 3 months, I spent like 2 weeks by myself in total. So it was amazing because, I started, I wrote about my experiences and kind of like reviews about different places and things I did and saw. And, but also the connections with people. These were people who I hadn't seen in years. They were excited to see me. They wanted to see me. And they didn't judge me for not being the same as I was before the accident, and I didn't feel the pressure, like, you got to do this. Why aren't you doing this? Kind of thing. So it was really helpful to me to have that connection and that creative aspect, because it got me doing more, because, oh, I got to write about it, kind of thing. And it helped, because when I came home, I was ready to focus on getting better. And I was ready to do what I had to get better. And, it didn't happen immediately. And when I say do what I had to, it doesn't happen like that, because your brain goes, but I don't want to, do these exercises
Right.
every
It's a
day.
slow process. But you had essentially a great reset, right? And so at what
Yes.
point did you realize, oh my goodness, I could make a career out of my writing?
I didn't. Well, it's I was in this Facebook group. I don't even know how I joined it. And I was in this Facebook group, and this woman and I had like this coffee chat kind of thing over Zoom, or we just had a phone call actually. And she called me a writer. And I said, I'm not a writer. I've not gone to school. I've not done it professionally. And she's like, you have a website that says otherwise. And I was like, wait, what? That's a thing? And then I was like, huh. And within, I think it was a couple weeks after that, I had another chat with somebody, and we were talking, and she was like, you have stories in your head? That's so cool. And my cousin said the same thing, like, you're so lucky you have stories in your head. And I was like, wait, doesn't everybody not have stories? I thought everybody had stories in their head. I didn't know that was something that not everybody experienced. And so I joined the writing group. I thought, I'm gonna go hang out with some writers. This is kind of cool. Wonder what that's like. And it was really fun. And I met people that had really wild imaginations and really deep conversations and um, passions that were out of what I was used to. Like, you've got your life is in a box generally, and these people were out here. And I was like, oh, this is the best ever. Like, it was so much fun. And so I met people who, they were writers, and then I joined an organization of writers that were professionals. They, had books published. And I was like, huh, I could publish a book. I did. Whoa, And so I started, because of these groups, I started to it rolled to where I was wanting to do fiction. But I learned that fiction's not just get the story out of your head, because it's not that easy to just at my age start getting the story out of your head. And the exercises were way easier. But um, I just, my analytical brain had a hard time because my whole life was analytical. And so while I was working on writing fiction, I decided to take some articles I had published on other people's websites for free. We just did an exchange, and then I still own the rights. And I took these two articles that were related and put them together into like a 17-page ebook. And I learned the process of self-publishing that way. I got a cover designer, I got an editor, and really it was 17 pages, but it was a whole process, and it was such a learning experience, and I had so much fun doing it. And so I got that first book out, put it out for free. Actually, it's for free. And I didn't get much traction, like nobody. I think I got one or two downloads, and I think one of those was my mom. And and it was about a month later, it was Boxing Day, and I happened to look, and I'm like, oh, it got like 1,000 downloads. Oh, okay. People got
Wow.
Kindles for Christmas. So, and yeah, I did that for a few days, and since then it's been downloaded thousands of times. Like it's made some of those top 10 lists of things and of resources, and I'm like, it's just my little 17-page book. That's so cool. Like,
I think that's really cool that you did that because, from where I sit, it seems like most people are like, oh, I'm going to publish something. They think it has to be a book or it has to be
memoir.
a
That's the big
memoir
one.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's something big,
Yeah.
and so for you to learn that whole process just by a really two short essays,
Yes.
that's really incredible. And it should, I mean, it really opened up my mind to the possibilities of what is publishable. I actually downloaded that and I read through
Oh,
the whole
nice.
thing probably within 15 minutes. Like it
Yeah,
really
it's
didn't take
nothing.
that long,
No.
but it was so insightful,
Was that?
and
Oh, thank
yeah,
you.
I thought it was wonderful. I
That's
really
thoughtful of
am.
you to
And I was
share.
like,
Thank
oh, I
you.
get a peek into Teresa.
Aw. I appreciate
So
that. Thank
have
you.
you published other things as well?
I have. So after that, I took all the bakeries and cafes and dessert places I went to. I took all of that and put it into a dessert guide for downtown Vancouver.
Oh, fun.
And yeah, so that was an ebook. I even got like a local artist to create this fun map for it. And it was really, again, it was like the same process, but different. So it was really fun. And unfortunately, that one I had to unpublish because it's so many changes. And it was like, okay, am I in a place right now where I'm just going to go hit up a bunch of dessert places and eat that much sugar in a short period of time? Or should I just unpublish it? So I made the choice. And I've been working on fiction. I've got a few partial stories going. So while I'm taking my sweet time doing fiction, I didn't want to stop putting out products and self-publishing. So I started creating low content books, and I put those self. So I've got like I think it's something like 20 over 25 of those. I can't remember. So there's just some notebooks, some journals, some reading journals. So if you're a reader, there's a few of those. There's a planner for romance fans, and a mental wellness workbook with journal. And so that one actually I'm really proud of.
Well, tell me
But it's,
why. Why are you proud of
um,
that one?
I'm proud of that one because it's everything I did, well, on a daily basis. So it's holistic, and it's different things, like there's, different challenges in there. So to get you out of your box, because our mental health tends to, we don't recognize that the things we do on a daily basis affects our mental health. And we honestly, they're tied together. That's why holistic is so important, because everything's tied together with the body. You can't fix physical without fixing emotional, mental. It's all tied.
Right.
And so I did, this journal. There's all these different pieces of the journal, like, move your body, eat 3 meals, and that was because I have to remind myself to eat because I don't eat enough, and different things like that. And then there's weekly challenges. And so, because what I did one time, I think it was 28. Yeah, I can't remember. It was about a year after I came back from Australia, and I was like, all right, I need to make a big change. This is my life is just like this, and things aren't working, and things aren't happening. So I decided I was going to every week do a new experience, try something new, see something new, eat something new. So I did that kind of stuff into that workbook. So every week there's a little challenge to get you out of it. There's small little things. Like one of the challenges is wear two different socks. And I mean, that right there could just freak people out, right? So, but it's small enough that it's still a possibility to do without saying, you got to go shave your head, like that's just,
Right.
come
Something
on,
big,
it's got to
right.
fit into somebody's life. But, and I also had a counselor look at it, and I've had people just, it's only got a few reviews, but they're all 5 star. And I've had people message me to tell me how amazing they love it, and that stuff. And that, to me, like, if it's something that can help other people, that to me is like, yay, thank you, I'm very proud of it. But you saying that insightful. I think one of my reviews for that 17-page ebook was somebody else read it and felt like I could go travel now. And I was like, oh, thank you. So it's, I get a little kick off of other people's joy.
I don't know if you know this, but you have just taught us a really amazing principle.
I don't
And,
think I do know
and
that.
so, but what you've done is just started where you're at and started small. And
Oh
then you've
gosh,
built
yeah.
on that and built on that and built on that. And another thing that I noticed was you realizing, and I think everybody does this. I know I have, and I've talked to so many people. You get so used to who you are and the
Yeah.
things that you can do that you don't realize your superpowers and the
Yes.
things that you're good at. You take those for granted and
Hmm.
just think that's something that everybody can do.
Oh, the amount of things I have learned in the last how many years while I've, been healing, and the stories in your head as an example, right? Everything I did in life I thought was normal that everybody experienced. And to have everybody, no, wait, what? That's not, wait, this is a thing? It's shocking. I have a cousin once that found out, I think she did one of those personality tests, and it said her number one thing was positivity. And she was like confused. And her husband was like, you're the most positive person I know of. And I think that's the thing, is we don't recognize what we're capable of because we're so busy being busy. We're so busy following along and doing what we're supposed to, or what we think we're supposed to, or doing what other people are doing, and we don't talk. We lack communication in so many ways that we don't recognize how amazing we are. And we don't have to be the same as the other person. I mean, you can understand and accept that we're all different, or you can judge people for not being the same, right? And
Mhm.
it's acknowledge that you're different and just go with it and find, it's amazing how much happy you are when you find things you're good at and you follow that. It's just, oh, this is great.
And to really identify those things that you're good at and
Hmm.
that make you unique, and it's beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's I love helping other people see what their gifts are and their talents are and pointing them out, and I can't tell you how many times they're like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
Hmm.
I'm like, yes, yes, that is totally you. Like,
Yeah.
embrace this because you are amazing.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I helped a health coach create a book, and it was, so she put out this holistic wellness book. And so all we did was use stuff she already had. I think I made her come up with some journal prompts kind of thing to add to the book. But we used a recipe book she gives her clients. We used her social media posts. We used things she had done for workshops, and we put it all together. And it was like, she was reading it and she's like, oh, that sounds so good. And I'm like, that's yours. That was, and she's like, Oh.
Like she didn't even
Oh,
connect.
wow. Yeah. And the connection was gone that, we were using her content. It was like she didn't you know what I mean? Like you don't recognize your own amazingness. And because we're so used to not being amazing, because we're so used to doing what we think we're supposed to fit in with other people, right? And we lack doing what works for us, doing our thing.
Yeah. So was it hard for you to accept that you're amazing?
You said amazing. I laugh because I'm like, no, I'm not.
But really, I believe that every person is amazing in their own way. I really do.
It's so easy for me to tell other people they're amazing. You're saying that. I'm
Yes.
like inside my head, I'm like, no, I'm not. Shut up. No, I'm not.
Again, because we live with ourselves and
Exactly.
it's normal, right? And so we
Exactly.
don't see the extraordinariness of ourselves.
No, I'm definitely not. I don't even, I just had to say this conversation a few days ago. I was like, I really need to start celebrating my little wins because I forget about that because they're not the big end goal, and
Yeah.
I'm a person who I have an end goal and I'm open to how I get there. So I never know what's going to come up and how my life is going to go because, it'll all get me there. But even I, well, it's not that end goal. So it's not good enough, and it's, it is good enough. That's the thing. Like you keep progressing little by little as you move towards your goal. And that's a big thing. And I would say that
Huge.
to somebody else. I just don't say that to myself.
I know. Well, I think that's a good challenge. I have started to record at least 3 wins. I don't do it every night because
Ah,
sometimes I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to do that. But I can tell you that when I do that, it just it makes me feel good. Like it helps me to realize, that wasn't the big thing, but man, I made progress today.
yeah.
And it feels really good. Okay, so I want to
Yeah,
get back
that's
on
good.
topic.
Yeah. Okay,
So
sorry.
I my fault.
I know
But
I'm good at this.
like yeah. So I'm really intrigued by this process of self-publishing because I've never done it before. I've I have books inside of me that I know are there,
Mm,
and I've just not ever really explored doing it.
yeah,
But I'm really curious, like, is it hard to self-publish? I know
no,
people do it all the time.
it's
Like,
not hard.
what have you learned about that process?
That is not hard.
It's
The hardest part is probably the mental block of putting yourself out there in that way. Even if you put yourself out there as, doing your podcast, right?
Mhm.
You go to do your book, you're like, ooh, there's a wall about putting yourself up there that way. And I've seen it with people who are like out there in all kinds of ways. All of a sudden, putting out a book, it's just boom, up against a wall. And so you still have the mental part of it to deal with. Um, and I would say, uh, it's not okay. So it's not hard, but I find a lot of people, you said it earlier, where we talked about it earlier, a lot of people think that their first book is going to be a memoir. And quite honestly, unless you have a very large following, like famous celebrities, memoirs don't really sell. But there is a
Interesting.
way to tell your story in a positive way to get your first book out there and to draw in clients. And that's to mix your story with how you coach or how your business works. And you mix it together and you make it so that the end book is what a reader wants. Like, how is that experience for the reader? Does it want, do you leave them feeling like, oh my gosh, this person is so amazing and can help me? Where's their contact details, kind of thing? Or are you because by sharing your story in a way and saying how that worked for your business and how that your business can help them fix that or work on that or deal with that, that is how you get your book out there, and that is how you get your story out there. But just writing a memoir, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but no offense, why would somebody read it? Right? They don't know you. And there's probably a celebrity that had a part of your story and they'd rather read that kind of thing. I mean, my mom only reads memoirs, but I've never seen her read a memoir by somebody who wasn't famous, whether it be politician, celebrity, something, right? And that's very rare that there's somebody out there who only reads memoirs. But so that is probably the hardest part is people have they really want to share their story, and everybody should share their story, because if we don't share, how can people understand they're not alone, right? So but working your story into a book that can help the reader, so it's kind of like it's why I do with a lot of coaches, and it's almost like you're coaching in a book. And so then people could be like, oh, this is amazing, this is what I needed to hear, that kind of thing. And you can give them, maybe there'll be more stuff later that can help them even more. Maybe they end up working with you, maybe they join your group, maybe, like there's all these things that can come out of it, and that's your big win. Because the other thing is you're not going to make $1 million off one book. So but you could, I know somebody that, what did she, there's so many different things out there. And she was surprised when she got a client from her book. And I was like, that's the thing. Like, that's why you're putting this out there, to show people who you are, your story, and how you can help them. And that's probably the hardest part, like that, and putting yourself out there in that new way. The hardest part. The other part is just pieces of the puzzle. Like, one thing I always get clients to do right in the very, within our very first or second call, is start researching cover designers and editors. Because cover designers and editors can book out months in advance, a year in advance. So you want to start researching to find somebody that fits in with your schedule. And it's very easy to research. You go to your genre on Amazon and you look at the books that are selling, and then you go into that look inside feature and you find out who the cover designer was. And then you check their works on their website or their social media, and you see what they've done. And you're like, huh, because you always want to pick somebody that's your genre, because they know what will sell. And it comes like fonts, colors, pieces on the picture, colors, those all matter. Those are all part of a certain genre. I mean, one thing I always use as an example, cozy mystery, there's almost always a pet on there. Some kind of animal.
Oh, that's interesting.
Always on the cover.
Yeah.
Or a suspense. There's always somebody in shadow running,
Right.
It never fails.
Right.
So that's the thing. You always want to have a cover designer that works with your genre, that understands what's going to sell. And then for editor, if you're reading a book and you don't get pulled away by errors, go check out who that editor is and go find their work, right? Because that tells you they're, like, if they've caught enough that there's always going to be errors that miss. It doesn't matter. You can have 10 people look at something and run a program, and you're still going to miss something. It's it's a nice meme that's out there about that even.
And I agree with that. I have actually stopped reading books because there's so many errors. I'm like, this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, because that's the thing. You don't want to be pulled out of the story. And that's why I always recommend having a professional do these things, because the editor is important, because you don't want somebody pulled out of the story and put it down, right? That actually starts now having a negative effect on you, right? And then the cover is your first point of not marketing, but I mean, it's marketing, but it might not be your first point depending on how you've got it. But it draws the people in. That cover will draw people in, and then they can read the blurb, which will get them to buy the book or borrow the book on KU.
Because people really do judge the book by the cover.
100%.
Absolutely.
They don't. They're lying. They do. I mean,
I know I do. I totally do.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, what kind of cover is that? I don't know.
I know.
Let's go to this book. It's it's got people running in shadow. Yes. I'm good. Now I know it's suspense.
That is my genre, right? Yes. That's awesome. Those are really fantastic tips, and that's not something that I would have ever thought of. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Yeah, you're
amazing.
welcome.
So
Yeah.
how do you what are best ways to market a self-published book?
Self-publishing books and traditional books are marketed the same way, because a publisher is never going to do that. They don't do the marketing for you. I shouldn't say never, because they do stuff like maybe they might do a sign. If you're big enough, they might do a signing tour kind of thing. But they don't do the ground level marketing for you. And so I think I read somewhere, or I was told something years ago, that before you put out your first book, you should have like a year or two of making connections, joining, being in communities, and just getting people to know who you are, so that when you put your book out, they're interested in buying your book. If you do not have those connections, if you do not have that community, if you do not have like those, I guess, followers almost, because you're really looking for connection, and
Right.
community. And if you don't have that, who's going to know about your book? Who's going to buy your book? You can do an ad, but why would somebody just randomly pick an ad? Your cover
Right,
better
when
be
there's millions of
really
other
good.
books to read, right?
Exactly. I mean, every day there's people publishing books, right? Like how many? So it's a saturated market. And it's not to say you won't sell. It just means how do you have those buyers coming to you? Like, are you putting yourself out there to have people get to know you? So that's why when you've already got a business and your first book goes out there, you might already have a following, you might already have a community, and maybe they haven't worked with you one-on-one, but hey, this is a good touch, a good way to start working with you, or to see how you work, to see how much you do know. Are they really that good? Kind of thing, right? So it's kind of like a digital business card in a way, is how I look at it when you put out your first book.
So to me, that's music to my ears because I personally love networking.
Nice.
To me, podcasting is just an extended version of networking, right?
It kind of is. Actually, I'm
Yeah,
getting
it
energy
totally
bunnies
is.
just sitting here talking with you.
Right. But I never connected that with marketing like a book that you've written, whatever it looks like. So
Yeah.
that's really fantastic advice. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
So
no
I
problem.
want to pivot again
Okay. I
because
love your
I think
pivots.
you've just have a wealth of knowledge and honestly,
I
the
love that
more
you say that, because
you
I think I
do,
have a wealth of knowledge and I always want to share. And 9 times out of 10, it's to random strangers walking down the street. They don't want to know my random knowledge.
well, everybody, Teresa is a wealth of knowledge and everybody should look her up. So there you go. There's your
Thank
plug.
you.
So these essays that you wrote are all
Yes.
about traveling. And I'm
Yes.
going to call you a professional traveler because it sounds to me like you have
Okay.
done enough traveling and you are such an advocate of it that, number one, you wrote these essays and got them published and but also the way in which you encourage people to do travel as well. So I'm wondering if you can share with us what are some of your best travel tips that you can give people.
Oh, well, I think I said it earlier. Get a website, or get on an email list of flight deals, because then they get emailed to you and you're like, ooh, because my flight to Australia, so I live in Vancouver, BC, Canada, right? That flight to Australia return was like $800, $840 or something, in the middle of Australia in summer. So, I mean, people I never thought that was possible, and I would never have looked because I didn't think it was possible. But by having that email, it was like, wait, what? This is a possibility? Done, kind of thing, right? So tips would be find a way to get, deals sent to you. When you're traveling, always be aware of your surroundings. And this seems thing, you're like, I know so many people, they're like, I'm always aware of my surroundings. I'm like, well, did you know this person's been following us for the last like 3 blocks? What? Where? Who's following us? Or that time I was in the underground in Paris, and somebody was like, they got pickpocketed going down a flight of stairs, and they were like, my wallet's gone. And I'm like, you were creating a big thing Because that's the other thing is when I travel alone, I try to look poor. And I don't say that in a rude way, but I don't flash any kind, I don't wear jewelry. I don't flash brand name expensive handbags. I don't, I have this like no name brand backpack kind of thing or something like that, right? My little carry-on tote that I have on a hand, sort of thing. And I wear runners. I don't wear fancy shoes, because I'm going to be walking a lot. And I want my feet comfortable. But also, the more brand names you flash, the more that says this person has money, and I want to rob them. Like, how can I get their money? Simple things like don't carry your wallet in your pocket. Wear one of those under the clothes bags. Just put maybe a little bit of money. Oh, and don't dig in that under. I've seen so many people do that. Don't dig in that under your clothes bag while you're standing out in public. Go in the bathroom and take out some bills and put it in your pocket or your card. And you know what I mean? Just as you're going to go into a store or something, make it subtle. Don't be obvious about money. This isn't a thing where you want to show off. Look how much money I have. You're traveling. You don't live there. People assume you already have money, and it's not a popularity contest in any way that you need to prove yourself. So those are big things. And another one that I love is last time I was in Paris, I was with my younger cousin. She hadn't done this was her first time, I think, traveling without parents. And we were in Paris and there was some kind of like protests. So if you've ever been to Paris, or if not, they have people with big guns a lot and they walk around. And by people, I mean like military, police, that kind of thing, walking around with big thing. It's a little intimidating when you come from a country that doesn't have a lot of guns. And, and there were barricades and there were like, blocking. And she was getting a little worried and I wasn't. And she couldn't understand why I wasn't. And I was like, if the locals aren't freaking out, you're fine. When the locals are freaking out, run and be scared, But otherwise, it might just be because you're not used to it and it's nothing to be worried about. Like we didn't know if it was what it was. And we found out later it was protests, which so that's the thing. The locals weren't worried because it wasn't, if they're like bombing stuff, or people shooting, the locals will run. And then that it's an intense thing. So I think those are things that we don't recognize that it's a small thing, but we don't recognize it until, you maybe have noticed or been around. I lived in London, England for a few years, so I have a little experience as being the outsider in a regular situation like that. But just some other things is just, things will always go wrong. So don't be stuck on at 8:55 I have to do this, or today it's going to be this, this, and this, because 9 times out of 10 you walk out of where you're staying and there's something going on and you can't do what you expected, or the transportation isn't going to get you there on time, or something can always happen. So just be prepared. Just know that you're going to change. And that's the thing about traveling, though, is you really learn what you're capable of, and you also learn that you are capable. Because 9 times out of 10, you think, oh my gosh, that's scary. I can't do it because I'm not capable. And it's like, and you reference the that ebook, and that's what I talk about in there is, our society tells women we're not capable. But honestly, you are a grown adult. You pay your bills. You pay a mortgage or rent. You pay your car payment. You have a job. You look after family. You raise kids. You look after women look after everybody. And they also do it while working and earning a living and paying all the bills and doing everything, right? Like, why can't you go and look after yourself in another place? Just be, and as women, we're also from birth on taught to be aware of the dangers to us. So we're in a little bit of a different position in that way. We are automatically concerned about our safety. It's an everyday thing for a female. And, so it's not any different in another country. Just be aware of your surroundings and, like I said, don't flash things around, and then use your normal worrying about your safety kind of thing. There's other little tricks that you can do. There's things you can get for a door of a hotel room or an Airbnb or something like that that makes sure that somebody can't break in. There's all kinds of little things that you can get that will give you that extra piece of comfort. Also, try not to fall asleep with your luggage hanging around while you're riding a train. I've done that.
Yeah. You've given us some really fantastic tips. How, like, if somebody is nervous, like they want to try traveling alone, um, but they are nervous to do that. What would you say to them to help them to get over some of those fears?
Love that you asked that.
Mhm.
Stay close to home. Go close. Is there a short drive you can take to spend the night somewhere? Can you fly a short distance in your country to go for a weekend, a week, that kind of thing? Keep it small. Always keep it small. Stay close to home, go overnight, go for a weekend, and build up. Then go into a country that speaks the same language as you. So here, in Canada, I did travel locally, and then I went down to the US. It's foreign because you're a whole other country, but
Quote unquote, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We have lots of the same products, and we
Right.
we talk the same language and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? So it's not as scary, it's not as intimidating because I already recognize it. There's obviously there's a lot of differences, but it's not enough that it's so intimidating that I was like scared that I had to go home and I needed to leave right now. And then the next place I went to on my own was London, England. Again, same language, but very different place, very different culture, very different. I also don't recommend it to everybody. I moved there, and that was, a big
That's a
jump,
big jump.
a
Yeah.
big, big, big jump. It's scary. But the other thing is, it's scary, but is it impossible? Is it going to kill you? Is it, why is it scary? Is it scary because you've never done it before? Is it scary because it's different than what you're used to? Is it scary because it's got tigers running the street and it could kill you if you step out the door? Like, you have to kind of think about what is important to you. I have a fear of flying. That's probably going to be a surprise to anybody listening that
Yeah.
is
So
hearing how
how do
much
you
I
deal with
travel.
that when you're traveling?
I have a serious fear of travel, and so every time I have to fly, I put my life in order in case I die. The reason I get on that plane, because I remember once I was so scared going somewhere, and my mom was like, "Well, then don't go." And I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, I really want to go to that place." So that's the thing is, if you really want that end goal, what are you willing to do to get there? And it's going to be fearful no matter what you want to do in life and no matter what that end goal is. I mean, I've never been married. To me, that scares the living crap out of me, And is it something I would do? Yes. But is it going to have to be worth it? Yeah. I'm not just going to marry anybody, And so there's something for everybody that is really scary. So is it worth getting through that fear? And is that fear valid, or is that fear just because it's the unknown? Because the unknown is scary, but it's not going to kill you necessarily, right? There's things you can do to protect yourself if it is that, there's the possibility that it's a dangerous situation. I don't want people doing dangerous things. Please don't listen and think that you need to go do dangerous things. Don't do
Right.
that.
So I really feel that within the writing and then within the travel, you have this theme in your life of going for the adventure, even if the
Oh,
adventure is wearing two different socks, right?
yes. I know I don't match my socks. I
Right.
hate matching my socks.
But
It's so
trying
done.
it, right? And starting small with
Mhm.
whatever adventure, you're going to have, because you never know if that might lead to something that is life altering and something beautiful and glorious that you never would have discovered otherwise.
Exactly. That's exactly what life's about. I mean, we get in our day to day and it puts us into this tiny little bubble, and you don't recognize that you're in this tiny little bubble because you're doing this day to day, you're busy, you're living your life, you've got good things happening, and it's great and you love it, but you don't realize how much more there is.
Yes.
And that's one of the first things I learned is I am like a teardrop, a needle pin of water in an ocean. My perspective and my outlook and my everything is nothing because the world and the people and everything is so much out there.
There's
And
so much to learn, so much to experience.
So much. And I've always been a bit of a, ooh, that's fun. That looks fun. Let's try it. Like I have always been that way. But I also get scared. Like, was I scared when I moved to London? Yeah. I got off the plane and I went right into the underground, like the subway, and I got off and I walked up to the street and I stood there and went, oh, I don't know if I can. I was like,
a little swear word there, right?
Yeah. I was like, what have I done? Like, I didn't know, I didn't have a job. Thankfully, the night before I left, my mom was like, where are you going to stay? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, oh my gosh, you have to have a place to stay. So I booked a hostel, So it's just, it was scary. I cannot even describe how being in a foreign country on my own for the first time, how scary that was. I thankfully did know somebody that I had known since I was 6 years old. We, friends. That's actually how I knew I could move there, is because she did. And I was like, I got a birthday card. And I was like, wait, this is a thing? And then next day phoned the consulate at work going, what do I have to do? Like, how can I make this happen? But I mean, we didn't hang out every minute of every day. She wasn't there to pick me up. I think she was actually gone when I arrived. She was on vacation when I arrived. So it was really scary. But then that's when you kick in. You're all of a sudden, wait, I'm stronger than I thought I was. I can do this. I gotta just step by step, like go to the place to live, put that in. Now I gotta eat dinner, and then it's like I gotta sleep. And it's, and I got to start looking for a job and, all these different things that happen. And then once you break things down, it's not so scary. It's not so overwhelming. It's still scary. I was still scared, but
you can apply that to anything, right? Anything that is unknown to, that is,
yes.
Even if it's a big fun adventure or if it's just something that is new, right?
Exactly.
And you just don't, just break it down into small
Yes.
pieces. And I think the big lesson there is wait to be amazed at what you can do.
Oh gosh, yeah. Holy yeah. Like you will always be amazed at what you're capable of when you put yourself in new situations. You would never have thought of that because you didn't have that chance to challenge yourself and prove yourself. And you don't have to prove to anybody, and you do not have to be challenged, but it's for you, because the difference between going through your everyday life and then having this experience where you proved yourself to yourself and you're just like,
huge.
Whoa. And the amount of confidence you get from being able, just proving to yourself. It's not about doing things for anybody else or look what I can do. It's not about that. It's about showing yourself what you're capable of. And you just gain confidence and inner strength from that. And then that's like a stepping stone to doing more. And next thing you know, your life's in a whole different direction that you never thought possible, right? Like you just don't know. But I always tell people, like, it's very simple, like doing things new to you. I use this as an example all the time. I am a hot chocolate connoisseur. I gave myself that name because I think I'm special and I love hot chocolate.
Name away, right?
Yeah. I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
It's powder. That's not hot chocolate, So, but so what I do is I will Google different cafes, bakeries, coffee shops in a certain area of town and go try their hot chocolate and kind of go see that part of town and what else is around here. And, oh, look at this cute little shop. And, and now I've just had an experience that was not scary because then I was just going to, go try some great hot chocolate. But now I've gone out of my little bubble. I found new places, a new part of town. I found new places to go. Maybe I love it. Maybe it's my new favorite place. Maybe I meet somebody and we're going to become best friends. Like you don't know what's going to happen. And all you did was go to a new place to go try hot chocolate.
And you didn't
It
wait
just
for
happens.
somebody else to do it with you. You just
No,
did it.
don't wait. I waited. I wanted to go traveling to Europe. I waited. I had people say, yeah, let's do it. And then they would fall out of the whole thing. And for years that kept happening. And then all of a sudden I was like, when I found out my friend moved there, I was like, wait, this is a thing. I could go to it and move to an English speaking country and then travel around Europe on my, when I'm there. And that's what I did. And one of those friends that I visited in Australia is one of the friends I met on a tour in Germany when I was living. I went to Germany for a long weekend for Easter, I think it was.
Because why not?
Yeah. And we met on that and we became friends. And, I just a few months ago, my niece even sang with happy birthday with me on WhatsApp, kind of thing right to her. So that's like, you don't know what's going to happen until you try something different, and you don't know who you're going to meet, and you don't know how your life can enlarge, get better. You don't know.
That's
Everything
wonderful.
you can break everything down into small pieces. When I had the car accidents, I ended up with a fear of the dark, and that was not something I've ever experienced in my life, to the point where I couldn't leave my house at night. So what I did was I knew that I couldn't live like that. That's not possible. So I started doing things like leaving my house while it was light and coming home when it was dark. And then I would leave my house and just stay close to my house within a few little blocks when it was dark. And then I would meet people and drive farther and meet people. So I had that safety net. And that was, I say that, but I've also been told that that's not something that's easy for some people, like easy to do on your own. So I'm not telling everybody that they need to do that if they're coming out of trauma, but I'm pointing out that it is a thing you can apply to almost everything, or to everything in life. There are ways to break down things to make it less overwhelming, to make it less, who are kidding? It's still going to be scary. It's different. But by doing it small, it's achievable. And you're not going to, it's not going to be an overwhelming fear. It's not going to make you freeze. It's going to be doable.
Well, really, it's choose your hard, right?
Yeah.
I love this statement because everybody's going to experience something hard, but are
Oh,
you
yeah.
going to let it happen to you, or are you going to intentionally choose it? And
Exactly.
so, and when you intentionally choose it, you're typically going towards something that it will eventually become easy
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you've applied yourself. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
It sucks. It's, like I said, after you having to do those exercises for my body, it sucks when you're just starting, right?
Right.
But then you get to a point where your body's like, oh, I really need to do those exercises. And it feels
Yes.
good to do those exercises.
Yes. Yes. Tressa, we are running out of time, and I'm so sad because I've enjoyed this so
I
much.
have
So,
too. Thank you.
can you share with us just one more nugget of wisdom that's kind of a culminating thought?
Um,
And I know you've shared a plethora.
I was going to say, I am
Sorry.
a person that has
Yes.
lots of nuggets. That's
Yes.
just joking. I like to feed my
One
own
more.
ego on that
Yeah,
one.
dig out one more nugget.
Learn something new. It's and I don't know if I have any different nuggets than what I've already shared, but learn something new. Things are going to happen to you in life, and there's like big trauma, small trauma, and it's all going to suck, and it's going to be really hard to come back, because it's going to suck, and it's going to test you in ways that you're not expecting, and you don't think you're going to make it. So just try something new and learn something new, something you've always wanted to, but never thought you could. Yeah, who cares? Just give it a go. You're not trying, there's no expectations. So just try.
What do you have to
Um,
lose, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, do little things. Go try hot chocolate in a different place.
Right.
I don't think I don't know if I have new nuggets. Those are my big nuggets that I like to share with everybody. Um,
Well, they're
but
good ones.
I like to think but because that's the thing. I look at things and it's like, is this how I want my life to be? You know, like if I'm having a really bad day and I can't see where things are going to go and things are looking like they're never going to go anywhere from where I am now. And it's like, you know, kind of thing. And then you look and you're like, well, is this where I want my life to be? Is this where I want to be for the rest of my life? I'm going to spend the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years here. Is that what you want? No? Well, how can you change that? You know? And could be going to try hot chocolate somewhere. It could be learning to write. It could be, you know, it's just something. You don't have to have expectations, but is this what you want for the rest of your life?
Wonderful advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
If our listeners want to check you out, and I recommend you do because Teresa is amazing.
I love you. I could just talk to you all the time and feed my ego. Like, this is awesome.
Yes, well, thank you for being here. So I am happy to feed it.
I love this. I feel like I haven't reciprocated in that one. So thank you.
So where can they find you online?
You can find me a lot of places online. I might be hiding and lurking behind a pole, but I'm there. So I have a website, and it's an odd name. It's dapsile.com, Dapsile. It's Latin for a little bit of everything. I pick weird names. I have a Facebook group, and it's called Self-Publishing Made Easy for Coaches. I'm on Facebook with just my name, and I'm Instagram, my name .author, I think it is. And my pen name, you're not going to find me anywhere under my pen name, but you will find my stuff on Amazon under my pen name. Oh, I haven't given you my pen name. My pen name is Imogen Enger, Enger.
Okay,
And
explain that really quickly.
In that stuff. Well, Imogen is a name I heard in a movie once that I loved. And so I was like, oh, this is a chance I can use that. I'm going to use that. And then Anger is, I probably once again did a search for something in a different language and I don't remember, but I think it means like meadow or something in some language. I can't remember now. And I think in my mind, that was like opportunity. Like it's an open, you don't know what's going to happen. There's open options, like so many options. Opportunity.
That's beautiful.
That's how my mind worked.
Cool.
Anyway.
Super cool. All right. So I will make sure that I have all of your links in our show notes. And thank you so much, Teresa. This has just been a delight. I really, really loved our conversation.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you having me on here today. And you are so easy to talk to. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed today.
Yeah, it was super fun. I loved it.
It was, yes.
All right. All right. Thank you. And just for those of you who are listening, I really hope that you take Teresa's words to heart and to just try something little and have an adventure, even if it's all by yourself. And I mean, I think just being by yourself is part of the adventure. And
oh my gosh, just doing what you want to do when you want to do it. It's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
It's invigorating.
Yeah. And as you do, you will find more ways that your purpose is in your story. Until next time, take care.
Celebrate your dreams, let them take flight, for you are a star, shining bright in every step you take. Let your light glow, being you is the greatest way to